Good morning. We're going to pick up where we left off yesterday in Because of Mr. Terupt. And yesterday we read just the first two sections and then kind of talked about what inferencing is. So we're still going to try to make some inferences today, and we're going to keep reading in our story. All right, so we're starting today with Luke. I like school. I'm good at it. I get all A's. So when Mr. Terupt announced our first math project, I was excited. Dollar words was crazy. Definitely not a worksheet problem like all the others I've ever been given. Not even close. We had to assume that the letter A was worth 1 cent, B 2 cents, C 3 cents, and so on, making the letter Z worth 26 cents. The challenge was to find words that equaled $1 when you added up their letter values. Not 99 cents or $1.01, but $1 exactly. Mr. Terupt gave us time to get started. He wanted to make sure we understood the project, and he said he wondered who would be the first one to find a dollar word. I immediately made a data table of all the letters and their corresponding values, a quick reference for me. Then I started putting down any word that came to mind that had some of the bigger letters in it. Pretty, P-R-T-T-Y, equals 104, $1.04. Walnut equals 91. Mr. equals 84. Then I thought, hey, wait a minute, what if I just tack on the letter S? Misters, no good. But very close. I figured this could still be a worthwhile strategy for other words. So there I was, cranking out words, trying to find the first dollar word of the year. When what do I hear? Peter and Alexia. This is the 4th year Peter's been in my class, and my 3rd time with Alexia. Peter's funny, but sometimes he gets to be too much. If I'm concentrating on my work and he just wants to joke around, it annoys me. But I like him. He's fun and he's no stranger to trouble. Alexia, on the other hand, is always involved in some girl war. That stuff I don't get. She loves to wear flashy clothes, dresses, skirts, fancy shoes, and she always has the accessories to go with them. And she says the word like way too much. Alexia isn't a stranger to trouble either. She and Peter are a good match. Peter elbowed Alexia, then I heard him whisper a word to her. That's not even close to $1, I thought. 53, Alexia said. No good. Try. Were they crazy? They were trying out rude words and giggling the whole time. I just knew they were going to get caught. That's no good either, Peter said. Maybe. What a butthead. As soon as I thought it, I knew it was a word worth calculating. Sure enough, butthead equaled 81. I tacked on the S, and there wasn't just one butthead, but 2 buttheads. Dollar word. I was just about to call out that I had found one when Peter beat me to it. I've got a word, he yelled. Buttocks. He strutted to the board like he was the coolest thing since sliced bread and wrote it for the class. Buttocks, he said again. B-U-T-T-O-C-S. Peter went on to demonstrate how the word added up to $1. Mr. Terupt didn't interrupt. Just as I was about to, the new girl did. Buttocks is spelled with a K in it, Peter, Jessica said. Peter looked to Mr. Terupt. Sorry, Peter, she's right. Better try again. And maybe you should choose a different type of word than the ones you've been coming up with. Peter slunk back to his seat. No surprise to me, Mr. Terupt knew what Peter was up to the whole time. I raised my hand. Mr. Terupt, I've got one. I walked up to the board and wrote butthead. That was followed by a chorus of laughs. Butthead, I said, B-U-T-T-H-E-A-D, adds up to 81 cents. But if we have more than one, then we get buttheads, and buttheads is a dollar word. Just ask Peter and Alexia. Mr. Terupt snickered. That's enough, Luke. I must say this isn't a word I was expecting, but nonetheless, it's our first dollar word. Congratulations. Dollar Words was the best math project ever. We started it on a Wednesday, dollar word, and worked for 3 weeks. Through trial and error, a few strategies that I learned along the way, and some helpful hints from Mr. Terupt, I broke the record for the most dollar words. My final poster was covered with 54 of them. Mr. Terupt looked at my work and smiled. Luke, this is excellent. Dollar word. You are the dollar word champ. So if I'm going to make an inference about Luke, or if you're going to make an inference about Luke, I want you to think about something that you know about Luke. So since this book is all about students who are in the 5th grade, I'm thinking that maybe if you can make some connections to characteristic traits from these characters that you see in other of your classmates. So your classmates would be your background knowledge. Those are people you know, and you've seen how they behave and what kind of student they are. So I'm thinking if you make some connections between what the author is writing about these students, that you might be able to also make some inferences about what else you might know about these characters in the book. So, for example, I know somebody who is a lot like Luke, and even I might have been a lot like Luke when I was a student, and I always wanted to have the right answers, and sometimes I wanted to be the first person that got the answer. So I might make an assumption that Luke feels like he is somewhat of a perfectionist. That might be a new term for you, but a perfectionist is somebody who's always wanting to get everything done and do it perfectly the first time, and making sure that they're getting everything done perfect. So what comes with that, though, is that sometimes you can feel anxious because you really want to get that right and you don't want to get things wrong. Or you might feel a little bit embarrassed or upset when you do get things wrong. So I'm guessing that those are probably feelings that Luke is also experiencing because he wants to be getting everything right. And then I'm also inferring that Jessica, the new girl, and Luke might become friends based on the fact that they both were kind of ready to point out that the word buttocks was missing a K. And so that already tells me they might have some similar characteristics. And usually people who have things in common get along really well. So I'm thinking that they might become friends. So those are two different inferences that I'm making about the Luke section. All right, so I'm going to keep reading, and now we're reading about Alexia, who was introduced to us in this last section. And so I already kind of have some inferences about her, and so I'm interested to see what your inferences are too. So if you are ready to write down your response, I want you to pause me and then give me something that you infer about Alexia before we read. And then we will infer about Alexia again after we read her section. Okay? So pause. All right. Alexia. I was like, I have this new guy for a teacher. That's so cool. Mr. Terupt was nice. He let us sit in tables, not rows. I was like, no way. Are you serious? And like, the best was I got to sit with my friend Danielle. There was this new girl in our class, Jessica. She wasn't at our table, but I needed to talk to her. I needed to tell her who she could be friends with. She seemed like she could be pretty cool, even though she carried a book around like a teddy bear. I found her at recess. Outdoor recess is held behind the school. There's a big blacktop area with basketball hoops and hopscotch. There's playground equipment in another spot and a large field for running around and playing sports, like kickball or football. That's where the gazebo is, too, by the edge of the field. I found Jessica sitting alone on the steps of the gazebo. She was reading a book. I was like, what a loser. But I went up to her. Hey, I said. Hi, she said back. You're Jessica, right? Yes. I blew a bubble with my gum and sat down. I'm Alexia, I said. My friends call me Lexi. I found the compact mirror in my purse and checked my Rockstar purple lip gloss. Then I was like, where'd you come from? We moved from California, the new girl said. I used to live in California too. I started playing with the stones that lay under my feet. It's always been easier for me to lie when I don't have to look at the person's eyes. We moved because, like, my dad got sick and needed the doctors here. I'm sorry, Jessica said. She started playing with the stones now, too. Listen, I said, like, you're new here, so let me help you out a little. If you want, that is. I snapped my gum. Sure, okay. I stopped playing with the stones and scooted closer to her. Want a piece of gum? No thanks, she said. Of course not. Little Miss Perfect. I put the gum back in my purse. That girl, I said, pointing to Danielle across the playground. You can't miss her. She's the fat one. I laughed, but Jessica didn't. That's Danielle. Watch out for her. She's like somebody you don't want to be friends with. But don't you sit with her in class? I thought you were friends. I wasn't expecting this. Usually girls just listen and follow along. I blew a bubble and snapped my gum again. Yeah, she used to be cool, but like she's been saying stuff about you, calling you Miss Goody Two-Shoes and a snotty bookworm. Jessica seemed surprised. Oh, okay. Thanks for letting me know, she said. Don't worry, I put my arm around her. Stick with me and I'll, help you out. It'll be great. Then recess ended. That's how I got the girl war started. So now I want you to think about another inference that you can make about Alexia. I think that she's kind of panning out to be a character that we might all be able to make some type of connection with, based on somebody that we've known that behaves that way. So add another inference about how you feel Alexia might feel or why she behaves the way she does, or just something that you might think about Alexia based on anything from your background knowledge. So anything you already know and that you can make a connection to, then I want you to make another connection about Alexia. So when you turn in your question for today, you should have a before we read the Alexia section inference and an after we read the Alexia section inference. So 2 different inferences when you either put them on Google Classroom or you can email them to me. All right, I'm going to read, Jeffrey's super short, and then maybe Daniel. We might be able to get through 2 more people. Jeffrey, the kids in my class are all right. I have to deal with Alexia again, plus her feather boas and leopard print clothes and her stupid purse. I wonder what kind of makeup she puts on this year. She's so dumb. She thinks she's a Hollywood star or something. Then there's Luke. I don't mind him. He's just smart and serious about school. And Danielle's in my class. She's fat. And then there's Peter, a wise guy, a total smart aleck. I wanted to tell Terupt that Peter spent all his time in the bathroom because he was messing around. But Terupt figured it out, even if he was new. He seems smart. I just don't want him trying to figure me out. I'm no good in school. School sucks. So I'm going to make another inference about Jeffrey. As seeing as how this is Jeffrey's page, and this is the only thing that Jeffrey has written for his first day, compared to all the other kids who wrote a couple pages, I'm going to infer that since Jeffrey is saying that he's not good at school and school sucks, that maybe Jeffrey is a kid who doesn't really give it his 100% effort in school, and he's not trying the best he can for whatever reason. I'm not quite sure yet what his reason is, but he seems like he's not really interested in the other kids. He's unsure about Mr. Terupt still, but he doesn't want Mr. Terupt to get to know him. And he wrote a really short page. So I'm thinking that he's just going to be, I'm also thinking he's going to be a character that ends up developing a lot more in the story. And I'm thinking that he is somebody who just doesn't try very hard at school, based on what he said and based on this page. So the text structure almost gave me a good idea for an inference. All right, now I'm going to read Danielle, and Danielle's going to be our last section today. So Danielle has been mentioned a few times in the book already by Alexia, who said she was friends with her, but then called her fat. And then also by Jeffrey, who also said Danielle was fat. So I am hoping to get some more details about Danielle from this section, besides just how people see her physically, because that really doesn't have a lot of importance for me. And almost makes me kind of sad to hear the other kids say things like that, because that makes me think things about the other kids and more negative things about them, not necessarily doesn't make me think negative things about Danielle. School wasn't so great. My teacher seemed pretty nice, and he could be funny too, but none of that matters when you don't have friends. Lexi had done this stuff to me before. One day she's my friend, the next she's not. I don't even know why. I'm not mean to her. This year was the worst, though. Things started out fine, then one day after recess, Lexi started ignoring me. Pretending I wasn't there, she would talk about things right in front of me and leave me out of the conversation. She started telling her stupid fat jokes. It was horrible. I cried at home a lot. I'm a little heavy, well, bigger, I guess. I don't like saying I'm fat. I don't know why I am. I watch what I eat, and I don't have any more than the other girls at lunch. Mom says I'll grow into my body. She's not fat. Neither is my brother, Charlie, or Grandma, or Grandpa, or Dad. Grandma says, you've got to have some meat on your bones, girl. Yeah, Grandma, I think. So someone like Lexi can tell fat jokes about me. I don't say anything, though. Grandma doesn't get it. Only Mom understands. And I feel a little bit better when she reassures me that I'll thin out as I grow. She also tells me that there must be a reason I'm having to deal with this. It's making you a better person, she says, and someday this experience will help you. That's all great, but I wish I could grow into my body now. We live on a farm. My mom grew up here. My grandma and grandpa live in their own house next to ours. They help us run the farm. So my grandma's around a lot, and she wanted to know what was wrong with me, why I was crying. Anytime I mentioned Lexi, she'd get all mad. I'm going into that school and then fix that girl, she'd say. No, Grandma. Why are you even still friends with her? She doesn't know how to treat people well, especially a friend. It's not her fault, Grandma. It's this new girl's fault, I said, sticking up for Lexi the way I always do. A new girl that I can't stand. If you keep telling yourself that, it won't ever get better, Grandma said. She's a tough woman. The only time I've got friends is when I'm in Lexi's group. Nobody wants to be friends with the fat kid. I don't know what to do. Grandma said a prayer with me that night. We knelt by my bed. Dear God, please give Danielle the strength to stand up to these mean girls in school, or do what you can to teach Alexia a lesson. If you made her fat, that would be all right by me. I elbowed Grandma. Oh, okay, she said. I just ask that you provide Danielle with some comfort and direction during these tough times. We pray for the good weather to hold up and for the farm. Amen. So I'm almost wondering what you're inferring about Danielle as a character too. I am thinking that Danielle, she seems like a pretty nice girl. The thing that I connected that I'm kind of struggling with for her as a character is that she's blaming Jessica for the troubles in her relationship with Alexia. And so I'm almost kind of hoping that she works through that as a character. That's more of a prediction. And I'm inferring that she's really struggling with the fact that her peers view her this way, about her weight, and that they say things about her, that she has this friend who says mean things to her. So I'm wondering if you could make a connection there, if you've ever had somebody who's mistreated you, but you kind of thought they were your friend. And so almost as an inference or as a prediction, do you think that she's going to be able to stand up to Lexi at some point during the story? If you're making a connection to yourself, were you able to stand up to that friend? I think this will be really interesting. So that's all we're reading for today. I think Paisley is back there. She's just waking up from her nap. So I will see you tomorrow for the next part of the book. and make sure you get those inferences turned in today about Alexia. So, goodbye.